Welcome to another episode of Between Two Dots, where we interview guests and try to uncover how to live an intentional life. On today's podcast, myself and my co-host, Hafiz Mitha, are going to dive into a discussion on entrepreneurship and startup lessons. Without further ado, let's start the podcast. Hafiz, where are you taking the podcast from today?
I'm taking it from the shop. I thought I'd make it home in time, but cars have just been pouring in and I couldn't get away. So I'm here. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm taking it at the office, and then hopefully to uh, jet out of here in quick order in order to make it to the kids' soccer game. So that's kind of my game plan.
Oh, nice. They're in soccer now?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it's
Wicked.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
outdoor soccer, so it's better than indoor soccer, in my
Are you,
opinion.
are you are you one of those parents that are going hardcore on the sidelines or are you keeping it pretty tame?
Not keeping me pretty tame. I just let the boys' uh, skills and actions speak for themselves, I guess. So
Nice. Okay.
yeah.
Awesome.
But this is the reality though. Like you're in the shop, so you're living that entrepreneurial life. Sometimes it just requires, that little extra that other people may not have to deal with, right?
Oh yeah. And just like you, like you're taking it from the office as well too, right? So like the work sometimes stops, but you're always here. Like we've taken on a new service at the shop. We're doing some like custom tunes for cars, and there's like a software development side to it, but also some of the mechanic side. And this is like the first opportunity I actually have to work with my dad actually on a car. Only because like his eyesight is not as great, and he can't get in there and do like the little tweak things, and I can do that. So I feel
Yeah.
like I'm helping, even though he's doing all the hard work. You
You're
need me,
not
Dad. You need me.
you're not just holding up the flashlight. It's like, turn it over here.
Yeah, I'm still doing that as well too. That role will never change. That's kind of like my security blanket. Anytime I panic, I'm like, let me just grab the flashlight.
Well, it's pretty crazy though. Like ever since university, you've been an entrepreneur though. Like
Hmm.
I at least like had like a job where I was like working for established companies and then started my own thing. So you've been how many years now?
Oh man, let's say almost, yeah, 20 years. Like we started Joy, and I was 21, and I'm 41 now. So 20 years, kind of nuts. Half my life, which is trippy when you think about it that way.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some battle scars that we gotta like uncover there. Some thick skin that's kind of
Oh,
like built up over time.
I don't know. I feel like I haven't learned. I feel like I've learned a lot, but I also feel like I'm still such a student and haven't. I so many times feel like an imposter doing whatever. But it's just crazy because every single day is a different challenge. It's funny though too. We're doing this episode, and today I was doing something for WestJet to try to get my like login information for a trip coming up or whatever. And I called them up, and they're like, "Yeah, we don't have your email." It was under my Play City account. But as I was on my Gmail account, all these old emails from Joy popped up, and I had like emails from like Brock and Peck that were talking about like an employee that was just a thorn in our side for so long, aka the bleeder. But he was just there, and we were talking about that over email. And Brock was in a different country, and Peck was over here, and this is from like 20 like 12 or something like that. So it was crazy just even going back of like problem employees and going back and forth. And we were talking about board meetings, and I think like Invest YYC was just about to go up. So it's just trippy talking about this today, and this is kind of like the walk down memory lane with some of those projects. But you've been around for it all as well too, man. Like even though you've been in corporate lifestyle or corporate first before you did, Zelos, like you were in it with not only us, but I'm sure with others as well too. Like so, arm's length away from entrepreneurship, and all the advice and feedback that you gave was still like pretty instrumental and like along that path.
Yeah, fair enough. But you guys, it's a way different to advise than live it though, right? Like putting your money where your mouth is, and you guys like, experience so many of those things as it relates to like investors, advisors, board, employees, like so
Hmm.
early on, right? Like that's learning by a fire hose, right? So
Yeah, seriously.
what what were some of the key takeaways in those early days of Joy?
It was really funny as well too. Like on Monday, it was a holiday here, and I just needed to get away from like my house because it was chaos to get some work done. That I joined the board this week, and or sorry, I joined the board a little while ago, but I'm doing some work for them. And I was sitting in the Ville Cafe next door to the grain exchange, and I heard a guy speaking to the owner of the Ville talking about Larry Ryder, who was like our landlord back then. So it started to kind of bring me back to the days of like paying our rent and stuff at like the grain exchange and being in that building and just walking around 8th Ave or whatever. Um, so early days of Joy and some of those lessons, like it's funny, like perception sometimes is reality. We really had to kind of fake it till you make it early. So we had to act as if, right? Like I remember when we got Solium Capital. I might have already told this story on the podcast before, but like when Scott Valentine gave us the opportunity to pitch him to create a project for Solium Capital, he wanted to see our office. And at that time, we were in my one bedroom condo that I had randomly, luckily got after it came up. And there's like 10 of us in this condo, and we took every single visitor parking spot, and we're like, we can't bring people here. So the day was going to come when a customer wanted to come see like our office. And I remember Scott being like, all right, guys, it's Friday. You guys have the gig potentially, but I just want to see your office and see what you guys are about. I'll come see you guys on Monday. So he gave us 2 days to figure it out. And luckily, we found the grain exchange as a vacant building or a vacant floor. And I just popped in there on a Friday. We signed the lease. It was a bare bones room. And luckily, the day before, the tenants underneath the building or underneath the office were getting rid of a bunch of stuff. It's like, it looked like in the States there, like everything was going. So that same day, we picked up all the desks, all the different monitors, like everything you can name. It was just a mishmash. And I remember Scott coming on Monday and looking around, being like, "Oh, fucking weird, man. This is like an eclectic type of office because like you just thrown it all together, but it works, you know." I'm like, you have no idea, you know. So I remember he gets into the boardroom with a little square with a huge circular table that you kept like shimmy around. You probably remember that. But I just looking back on it now, like sometimes like the facade you got to put. So, anyways, long story short, first impressions definitely matter, and those scenarios.
No, that's real. I mean, I remember when we first started, we got like this stub lease. It was from like a oil and gas company that had gotten acquired, Rock Energy,
Mm,
and the lease had belonged to another oil and gas company that acquired them, Raging River at the time, and they were basically using this floor as like storage space. So it was in the Watermark Tower. There's 5 months left on the lease, and uh, Raging River had said, you know, we'll give you the lease if you're willing to pay up front. We'll only charge you for 3 months, and you guys can keep the furniture on the floor. And we thought it was
nice.
a great deal, so we did,
Mm,
and that worked until it didn't, because like we were able to once that rolled over, we became the head lease, because Great West Life didn't have another tenant for the space. We had the full floor, and we were able to sublease it, and that worked
mm,
until it didn't, because when COVID hit in April 1st, 2020, uh, half of the companies that were subleasing from us said they couldn't make rent. So, you
that's
know,
brutal. So they put it all on you as well too. Like no matter what happens, you guys are responsible for the full floor.
we were the only ones on the lease, right? So,
Yeah,
and we had these like sublease agreements, but like how enforceable is that? And
yeah.
and what do you do when the companies can't pay, right? So that's
Hmm.
uh, you know again, lessons learned, and things that uh, kind of color your perceptions of like how you conduct business. Because like now we're in a co-working space. We went to a co-working space after that experience, and I don't know if I'm gonna go to another full lease situation where I have to be
Hmm.
concerned about like the coffee pods and
Yeah.
printer toner and all the things, right? So
I mean, I remember seeing that space. It was beautiful as well too. Like, and you're in the heart of like all the things, right? Like that building was stunning. And I'm assuming when you're starting a business and you're kind of in the heart of it and you're putting things together, back to that, like, the perception, how important was it to kind of be in the mix and be around some of those people that you want to be like, because the business has changed a little bit as well too, right? Like before you were doing, like corporate strategy and then you're helping companies like raise more funds. And you're still doing that, but like, was that a big part of the Zellos, like, their strategy before?
I think to a certain degree, but yeah, I think things have changed, especially post COVID. Like, as an example, like in our business, that being focused on wealth management, it's actually the preference of most of our clients to meet online as opposed to in person. We have to be very intentional to invite them to meet in person for like lunches and things like that because it's important to kind of build that relationship. And you can
Mhm.
only do so much online. But I think people like the convenience of it. They they've gotten kind of used to it, like in the post-COVID world, right? So all of a sudden, especially the clients that are not located downtown, it's a pain to come downtown and find parking and do all the things just to come to an office for an hour meeting if you don't typically go downtown, right? So
Mhm. During COVID, when everyone kind of like was either folding or working from home, how is your company operating, and where did your people work?
yeah, essentially we went remote for a period. So we left Watermark and then we signed the lease with WeWork initially in the Edison building in September. And then they consolidated locations, I think, in June of the following year, so 2022. But essentially, everyone was working remote. Um, as soon as they consolidated the locations into Stephen Avenue Place, I started to come downtown, and
Mhm.
initially I was kind of the only one, but that was the you know I found it very difficult as it relates to separating life and work, and having that commute time, having that separate space, really offered that opportunity to
Mhm.
switch on and switch off on your different roles, right? And
Oh yeah.
people always like complain about the commute time, but that is like a transition time that I find very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. And I think it's so interesting that you mentioned it that way as well too, because I believe like the way you perceive things become the reality, right? So some people would call it, oh my God, it's a pain in the ass to be in traffic for this long. But if you have the mindset of like, I'm going to use this time to transition to work mode or listen to a podcast or just take time to just breathe, getting into my day or whatever, like things can be whatever you want them to be. I'm curious on that as well too. Like, how important is it for you? Like, as I mean, hard things come up all the time, right? But like, how do you switch from making it like this like big calamity into like potential opportunity?
It's really challenging to not completely avoid focusing on things that are outside of your control. But I find that over the course of time, and especially in building a business from scratch, um, there's so many things that are outside your control, and you could really burn yourself out and expend a lot of energy if you let that ruminate in the back of your mind.
Mhm.
So, really focusing on what you can control in that moment is important. And
Mhm.
sometimes it is as easy as sometimes you're waiting for something like whatever it is, like a big contract or financing approvals or whatever the case may be. And sometimes you just have to you know go for a walk or make sure you're
Yeah.
taking care of yourself or do those types of things, like even clean up around your work area, your home,
Mhm.
or whatever the case may be, because then that gives you the opportunity to like um, control something, control your environment essentially, and that always helps to calm the nervous system, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think people have read it or heard it and seen it everywhere, but yeah, a cluttered workspace is like a cluttered mind. So anytime you have an opportunity, I like that as well too, because you can sit and kind of twiddle your thumbs and just wait and scroll or be mindless, and which happens as well too, right? But if you can be productive in other ways to make yourself calmer or do things that will give you a state of flow or whatever, just to use that time productively, that's a good use of time as well too. So yeah, no,
Yeah.
I like that approach for sure.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about team. Like
Mm,
inevitably, uh, with Joy and Catapult, you guys had a team partnership,
mm,
and then uh, Play City, you were solo, but you had advisors and other people around the business. And then now the family business, you're working with your family and other employees. Like,
mm.
how is your context and framework thinking about team changed over time through those experiences?
Yeah, I really, that's a good question. But I really think that it's important to know who's doing what so that people have a clear idea of their roles and responsibilities. And I truly believe like in Joy, things got a little interesting because there was like I was young, I was way younger as well too, and I don't think there's like a clear delineation of like top level jobs or whatever, right? So you kind of do a little bit of everything. But if I could turn back time, I would have definitely had more of a sit down of like these are the exact roles and responsibilities, and these are how you're going to be like judged and how your performance will be evaluated and all these things. I have a very clear kind of outline what you do and what you're not doing. Um, I know with Play City, I started that company with a little bit of a chip on my shoulder because I wanted to just prove to myself that I could do it solo, which is the reason why investors usually invest in companies that have two or three founders, right? So it's not on one person and there's a delineation of roles. And if the founder gets sick, it's not gonna the company's not gonna die with it or whatever. You know, I like, again, so many things I would have done differently with Play City. Like I would have had an in-house dev team versus like outsourcing it, even though they were great. At some point, you become just like one of 100 companies that they're probably working with, and it's all based on the amount of money that you can bring in versus actually having skin in the game, right? And then those people have their investors as well too. So I think at any point you can bring things in-house versus kind of just doing it from like across the world or whatever, or at least if it's across the world, but having that full attention, having dedicated hours for that would be ideal. Because as soon as I ran out of cash for Play City, or as soon as they got super busy and all of a sudden I wasn't a priority, it started to become this like, really hard relationship. Because I was asking for more and not getting what I wanted, but also not having the funds to then pay. So then it's just a cycle of like dwindling returns, right? You're like, okay, this is not good anymore.
Yeah.
Um, but definitely with like the family business, when I'm learning more and more is that I need more therapy. Seriously, like I think that more and more random things trigger the hell out of me, and it all comes down to like childhood things. And I got to heal some of these like old childhood patterns of thinking because like man, I'm doing like some stuff that I've never done before, and I want to do it right away. And then as soon as I started doing the thing, my dad's hovering over me for a second. I'm like, what? And he was like, what the fuck is your problem, man? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know why I said that. But it's like because I feel like a kid, like, just let me do it, dad. So I'm learning more and more about myself with the way I react. And so there's like there's differences between the way I talk to my dad. There's difference the way I talk to like Nico, who's like my employee. I have three resumes in front of me that I'm going to be potentially hiring for two roles next week. So like, how does that play into it without playing favorites and stuff? Like, there's so many weird dynamics of just like people being around, and I don't want to be so absent, but I don't want to be like micromanaging. I don't know, man. It's just a lot with people.
Yeah.
How are you finding it? Yeah, I find it difficult.
Um, yeah, it's inevitably. So I guess you think about my history. I guess
Mm,
I've been in pretty structured teams in the past. I've led teams usually of like whenever we're on a deal, like in the investment bank, it was like
mm,
probably like 2 to 4 people primarily.
mm,
Um, so that kind of still maps over as it relates to uh, the size of our company today.
mm,
But it's not easy. Like I I am inspired as it relates to like Doreen, my wife's ability to like lead a team now. She has like a team of like, what would it be like 12, 13 people or something like that.
Wow. That's
And,
fun.
I think she does like a great job. And sometimes it's just about because she's got like high EQ and also cares a lot. And sometimes it's like very easy to just jump into like the tasks or like what's going on instead of like walking slowly through the crowd and just like, how's your weekend and
Mm-hmm.
what's going on and that sort of thing. So I think
Mm-hmm.
I'm continuing to learn that. But it's, it's evolution, right? So,
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to generalize, but I think women are just really good at that as well too. But of course, it takes intention. Like I think, yeah, Doreen's very, very smart and quite articulate, and has been like a pretty easy person to speak to because you can tell she like really listens and she's attentive, and there's not a lot of things going on in the background when you're talking to her. It's just you and her directly, right? So I think that's a very important skill and very astute for you to even like recognize that as well too and try to bring that in because I think when we come in we're like, all right, what are we getting done? Let's go. We got shit to do and like climb this mountain, man. Like everybody ready? Let's do this thing, right? And I think what I've realized here as well too is like everyone's got their own like lives that they're living. Some people have completely different issues or problems that you have no idea unless you actually stop and figure that out. So I do appreciate everyone on the team. I think everyone brings a very unique skill set, and I'm truly like I tell my parents this all the time as well too because we talk about potential raises or like how do we want to like recognize people and stuff like that as well too. And I think sometimes the mindset is like, yeah, don't worry about that, let's get the job done kind of thing. When it's like, no, 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 but these are people. And I look at my cousin Riz, and he's got people that have worked for him for like 5 or 6 years. And when I asked him what he pays them, they're making a very good salary. And because he's like, yeah, of course, I want them to do well. Like they've helped me do well. And I'm now in a position to do certain things because of my team doing what they've done and then can and really show me loyalty. So I want to treat them as great as possible. Like I want them to have benefits. I want them a good career. I want them to buy that house. You know what I mean? So there's like a mentality. And I think that now I'm learning that as well too. Like even with my parents, talking about raises for our staff and whatever, the ones I'm leading, I really have to build a case because it wasn't like that before. It's kind of like, nope, it's just like small, whatever. People are not quote unquote expendable, but there'll always be someone that will take that job. And I'm like, yes, but when you have a really good relationship with somebody, that is much more important. And they do good work. Why wouldn't you keep them and make them feel happy and honored and like, feel good about being there? And it's the small things, right? So it's a funny cultural kind of mishmash that I'm trying to navigate here with that as well too. But how have you found it with like because do you have one business partner or two?
one.
One, right?
Yep.
Is she as active in the business as you are?
Yeah. I think just in different parts of the business, which is important. Like uh, different personalities and different skill sets.
Hmm.
So it works well that way. Um, and I think something that is great is that um, the important things. Like, and what I mean by the important things is just kind of like the values and how we see the world.
Hmm.
And even though we're very different as it relates to like how we like execute on things and mannerisms and things of that nature, at least like the anchor is set, right?
Hmm.
um, and it's also like one of those things where you look at this, it's like now uh, I've worked at Zelos for longer than any other company, and
Yeah, well,
actually it's going to be like double the tenure of my longest stint previously, which was over 5 years in Scotia, right? So we're going to be 9 years in June 1st. By the time this airs, we'll be 9 years in biz, right? So that's
Yeah. Happy anniversary from the future.
yeah, it was kind of like the Tyler episode where he was talking about his event before it happened and that sort of stuff. So
How
same
was the
thing.
9 year party?
It was off the charts.
It's amazing. Someone got drunk. It was a weird thing.
Yeah, yeah.
That's funny. No, that's awesome. I mean, 9 years, man. That's amazing. Like, congrats on that. And you guys are just growing and like and doing things. And what I've seen you always as well too, man, is like this like consistency. And you always find ways to surround yourself with like good people that are like in it for the long haul as well too. So like, what have you found to be a key ingredient to like not only create loyalty but like longevity with the people that like are working with you?
I think it's a few things. I mean, I really love the lighthouse analogy, and this goes for like everyone in life, whether it's like a romantic relationship, business partner, employees, clients. Like ultimately, you are a lighthouse, and people will self-select and be drawn to it or not,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
I feel like there was much more um, focus on like chasing certain clients and that sort of stuff in the early days, and now I feel like if they are going to or if they're gonna be drawn to like what we're doing, then they'll self-select, and
Hmm.
that's like that works well as it relates to even like content creation and talking to certain audience. Like you
Hmm.
might just kind of catch someone on the on a video or audio, and if they like what they hear, then hopefully they're inclined to go to your website, maybe check out some of your social profiles, uh, consume some more content, and really kind of get to know you before even having a conversation. So by the time they
Yeah.
book a meeting, they'll have a sense of like what to expect and who you are. So
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Like you get to be, I think when you have that mindset of like the lighthouse, like you said, I'm gonna attract versus chase, you have an opportunity to be like authentically yourself. And yeah, you don't have to, that's like one mask off, it's just kind of being who you are, and the people that want to be part of that will just be there, which is amazing. It takes a lot of pressure off of all these things as well too. Because like one thing that I didn't like, um, sometimes you see it in like different circles or just in downtown or whatever. Sometimes it's and maybe it's just me just not feeling like I fit in or whatever. And the different facades that you feel the fakeness sometimes the conversations or whatever. I'm like, this just feels off. But then you meet somebody who's super real, and like, okay, that feels good, right? And like that your barometer goes up. Like, okay, that actually felt pretty damn good. But I think what you were saying there right now kind of maybe want to ask you a question though too, because you've been like on a um, pretty good, I guess, cadence here with content, and that's been a big part of like your online presence last little while. It's like really showing who you are and speaking to the camera and like actually telling these stories and stuff like that. And not only just like the events that you go to, but like your philosophies and stuff like that. How have you found that experience of like not only creating content but like finding your voice through different mediums as well too, the podcast included?
yeah, uh, it is daunting. It is like, like you have that cringe feeling when you start off, right? It's just like anything, but
Mm.
it's like it's even like running. Like even you and I are going to be running half marathons in less than a week now,
Yeah,
and
geez.
uh, I still haven't found an instance where I've enjoyed a run. As soon as it starts, I want it to end.
Yeah.
But you do it anyways, right? It's like you said, that whole consistency thing. And
Hmm.
that's something that I'm actually really proud of as it relates to the podcast, because we've been able to crank out probably on average 50 episodes a year
Hmm.
uh, for the last 3 years, right? And
Hmm.
uh, there's like a whole podcast, zombie podcast landfill, where like people have started like podcasts and maybe release like 1 or 3 episodes and then they're done, right? So the
Hmm.
fact that we're like approaching 150 episodes is great. And then you look at someone like Tyler Chisholm, has that 5-year event, 500 episodes and things like that. It's like you kind of get a sense of what's possible and the connections and some of the things
Hmm.
around that, right? So So that's something that I feel like we've done a really great job at, and I'm just trying to apply that to other parts of my life effectively. So
Mhm.
both personally and professionally, with varying success. And sometimes, everyone's got a crutch, but like life gets very full as it relates to like business and having a young family, right?
Mhm. Yeah, no, I think you've done an incredible job staying consistent. I was telling Slim this the other day, and like how much I'm inspired by you and like the amount of content that you put out there, but the consistency in what you do. Like I think you have a lot of integrity, and you do have two young kids, and you have an entrepreneur uh partner as well too. Then which you're involved in, and plus yours, and your involvement with different boards and stuff like that as well too. Like you hold it all together, and you show up consistently. I never see you frazzled. Yeah, and that's crazy as well too, man. Because like you and I will talk like a lot, and you'll see exactly how I'm feeling. If I'm super high, I'm like jacked up. And if I'm low, I'm feeling shitty. But you are consistent all the way through, man. And I don't know what your like secret is, but now's the time to share it.
I mean, it's it probably goes back to your point about like some of it is like facade, some of it is like self-control and regulation, right? That you learn over time. And inevitably you probably have more variability in safe spaces, like the concentric circles, shrinking concentric circles, starting from probably like your life partner and your family, and then working your way
Mhm.
out there, right? So um and especially being, call it like a face of a company and putting out content, you have to be very mindful of that as well, like and so that weighs in. But generally speaking, I do find that that is something that I am strong at, like as it relates to like just having like an even keel when
Mhm.
things don't necessarily go according to plan, receiving certain like information and that sort of stuff. I do take some time to kind of process it and can kind of move forward in a pretty logical manner. So,
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, walk me through that. Like, right now, if someone calls you and says, "Yeah, this massive deal that we're supposed to have with you guys, we're gonna go somewhere else." How do you process that in that moment? Like off camera, are you flipping tables and cleaning back up, or are you just like,
well, as you know, it's like there's been so many of those moments, right? Like, and you know it too. Like in your 20 years, like there's been like just moments that just are unexpected, that will knock you back. And
Mhm.
then like I remember when we were starting the business, and then COVID hit. Like I felt like we had gone through hard stuff already, that it almost felt like a continuation. Like we were like mentally prepared as a company and as a team, in many ways, that it almost felt that we were less phased going into
Mhm.
the uncertainty that was the global situation and COVID and all that stuff, right? So
Mhm.
I think it's just getting those calluses, thickening
Yeah.
your skin, all the things, right? Like like I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's been just so many moments that then you're like, okay, this is another one, right? So
Yeah. 100%. And I think the first time's always a little more like it's like the blip is a little like bigger,
yep.
and then once it happens again, it gets a little lower, and then you're like, all right, this is like, is it worth me freaking out? Like, what's that actually gonna do? I can't actually do anything if I freak out, and it doesn't even feel good. So if you can just dial it back for a second and let it sit and potentially find the lesson in whatever happened, or let it move on because the mindset is like, well, that wasn't a fit, so cool, onward. Um, it's funny. I think that we have as humans the ability to create meaning out of most things. And I think the more and more happens, and for me personally, it's easier for me to create meaning out of the things that aren't a fit. And it's just like this weird belief of like going back to what you said earlier, right? Like the lighthouse ideology. Like I really like that as well too. It's kind of like cool. That didn't work. That wasn't for me.
Yeah.
The universe. I always just lean back on the universe, right? The universe has bigger plans or different plans for me. I'm just gonna trust. They always say hindsight's 2020. I'm gonna try to use that same vision, but looking forward. I'm like, okay, whatever's happening, it's supposed to be that way. So what are the learnings here? But it's so interesting going through it because you see different people freak out, and I definitely do in my moments. My parents have had to calm me down before too. My dad's walking by right now, and it's probably like, yeah, oh, shit, panic today, man. I'm like, I know, man, get out of my room. It's yeah, I'm sometimes I'm surrounded by my dad all the time, and things will happen, and he'll like because he's under cars all the time too, man. Like he'll slice his head, like big cuts, and
Yeah.
I see him, and he's like chill all the time too. He's like, yeah, it's just part of the job. I'm like, damn, man, I'm soft.
It's those occupational hazards. Yeah. I'm not gaining like calluses and not doing the man work, right? So just
You are doing it. There's no,
just
yeah,
that.
you're doing. It's just the work. It's just work.
Yeah. Um, what's been a surprise? What's been your biggest surprise through this entrepreneurial journey, positive or negative?
I think the biggest surprise is that we're so much more capable than we give ourselves credit for. And I think that with any sort of opportunity, if you actually believe that you can learn to do it and you give yourself that patience and time, it, it's just crazy how it all kind of works out. And it might not be the best, but I feel like with where energy goes, like opportunity flows or whatever that statement is, right? But I feel like I remember how scared I was coming into the shop. I'm like, I've never been here before in this kind of capacity. And it was like an audacious goal to like help retire my parents and kind of take this over and whatever. And but I think surrounding yourself with good people, yourself included, that have conversations that can be real and vulnerable and really good life advice that you can implement right away. There's amazing things that can happen. So I think entrepreneurship has probably been the best thing that's ever happened to me in terms of like confidence building and also just like perception building as well too. Because I think a lot of people I know put different things on pedestals. We're like, oh, I can never do that, or that's crazy when this person does this or whatever. And I'm looking at them like, you can do whatever you want to do. You just have to decide to do it. So I think that's been the biggest surprise of like, you know what, anything's possible. It just takes energy and effort and commitment and consistency and like having good people around you. But that's been the biggest surprise, but also just the biggest gift as well too.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
Um, I think going into it, I was a little too overconfident. I mean, like the fact is, like, work ethic wasn't a question. Like I spent years in investment banking, working 90 plus hours
Mhm.
weeks. That wasn't a question. I certainly had confidence as it relates to intellectual acumen and things of that nature. But you just don't know and how long things take and how much resources it takes.
Mm.
And it was really surprising how it's almost like such a like get to know you type, get to know yourself type experience. Like you said, like
Mhm.
the requirement for more therapy, like the self actualization, the spiritual journey.
Mhm.
It's real, right? Like I think Tony Robbins says that like business is like such a spiritual journey, and if you don't believe it, you haven't kind of done it yet, right? So,
Yeah,
um, and I think it's the combination of the moving parts, the things that are inside your control and things that are outside your control, right? So,
100%. Yeah, you really kind of have to fall in love with the journey and like kind of let go of that outcome, right? Like, okay, like we know where we're going, but this may take 10 years, 20 years, whatever, however long it takes. You might get that big break and things can change. But in the process, you got to really start to celebrate the little wins and make it happen when you can, right? Um, but I think that's good awareness on your part as well too, man. Like entrepreneurship is definitely humbling. It's not for the meek. Like it takes some serious commitment. It's probably, I don't know, like you're married with kids, right? Like put this in relation to like the amount of effort you put into your kids or like your partnership or whatever. Like I'm sure it's like right up there. And if not more, you know what I mean? Like you're in it every single day for like you said, these crazy amount of hours with no guarantee. Nothing,
Yeah.
right? And you're
Yeah.
paying your own bills, man. You're paying your own, like, you're writing your own check. Luckily, I came to a family business now that there's stuff already happening here, and I got to scale something that's here. But ultimately, like, I want to make sure that I can pay for my own way and scale this business. But yeah, it's crazy how long things take. Like I remember last year when I came in that first year, I remember I was pretty confident too because I was like, oh shit, first year like another record. And the next month like another record. You know, you just keep it going. Everyone celebrates these little things, and then
You got your
February.
like hype music in the background and everything like
Oh
that.
yeah, look at me now, Dad. It's like behind me, it's like like, just wait, okay? Watch till February. I'm like, nah, it's gonna be different this time. I'm here now. February comes and boom, off a cliff. And I remember like shit my pants. I'm like, oh my God. You know, I've been like talking so much smack about these records and where have I been your entire life? So yeah, you get humble real quick. You know, and I remember just like spending money like an idiot. I'm freaking out, like, oh, a couple grand here and a couple grand here and postcards and this deal and that, and nothing came through. And then my dad's like, yeah, every December to February and March. It's always happens. It's retail cyclical. Like you're gonna learn this, right? On my dime, but you're gonna learn it. So it's funny, like as you get humbled, like you learn lessons along the way, and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna do better next year. But
Yeah.
making those notes though, like, are you still journaling? Do you ever go back to some of your old notes from like I don't know if you do this or not. I'm sure you do, but I do like quarterly reviews in terms of like the goal and you know some of the key learnings and highlights and lessons or whatever. And every quarter I'll have a meeting now with my parents or whoever the team is or whatever, and we'll go through it. And it's pretty insane. It is like a moment in time to kind of reflect on those. Like how much reflecting do you guys do in your business?
Mm. I'm not that great at that. Like, I wish I like journaled more. I mean, I think it was like Matthew McConaughey when he wrote his book Green Lights. He had
Mm-hmm.
like, like 20 years of journals that he was able to kind of produce this book for. So like, like I'm not great at like keeping that record.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but inevitably when we're telling our story to like a potential partner or other service providers, and you kind of go through the lineage like we do, walk through some of the key milestones in the evolution, that always kind of keeps it fresh, right?
Nice.
um, but yeah, I think time is an interesting thing too. Like it's like this like human self-constructed measurement system. But I think it's Alex Hormozy that says like if you take out the element of time,
Mm-hmm.
you could accomplish anything. So
Mm-hmm.
if you don't like have a time frame and you're just working towards a goal, if you're doing the right things, you will eventually accomplish that goal, right? And it's time that fucks everything up for everyone, right?
For sure.
Like
It's
it
just like
gets into
clocking out,
yeah,
or yeah, it should take me a year to get this done. And okay, no, it hasn't happened, so I'm done, or on to the next one, or whatever. I love that. I think time is definitely like a social constraint, really built around like it was around like the work days how they should have been back in the day, right? Like the industrial revolution kind of like put that into place when entrepreneurship really wasn't a thing. But yeah, exactly. If you're thinking about like all the hours that we actually have in a day to get things done or focus on like the top three priorities or whatever, like you can hammer a lot and make some
yeah,
serious waves. Yeah, Alex Hormozy and his wife are just like pretty cool examples of making some amazing things happen. And I like that you've been talking about that lately as well too. Like you gave Doreen a big shout out for International Women's Day. And I think you've had certain posts about that as well too, about like the partner that you have or like your foundation at home sets yourself up for whatever like the rest of your life will be and however many words. But talk about that. Like talk about like how important like a steady household is for like the rest of it.
yeah. I think it's I think it's crucial, right? Like I've said it like in other formats and mediums, like as you alluded to, that a steady homestead is kind of the secret ingredient to wealth and prosperity creation. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever that looks like to you, like families look completely different, but just having that support system that, like the tightest like concentric circle of trust where you can let your emotions run a little bit more wild than you would in the public realm, and that sort of thing is important, so you can blow off steam. Someone that is there to support you when you feel like you may have made a mistake or failing or whatever the case may be. It's crucial in order to be able to build, because like a house, your life and your career is built off of a foundation, and if the foundation isn't solid, then nothing else works, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have any advice for like building a strong foundation? Like, what are some of those things that like end up just being like pillars in this like strong foundation?
I think foundation, um, it's interesting, like as it relates to like with a person, the basis of building a relationship is communication. So whether that's with another person or like a higher power or whatever the case may be, like you have to talk, you have to communicate, you have to, you know, it's that back and forth. It's like that expending of energy. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that is like the key ingredient. Um, Trying to like, so communicating is like effective communication also includes listening. So sometimes that's something that is harder to do as well, because I feel like uh, guys in particular just go into solving mode. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, your partner might not need you to fix something, but rather they just need to vent, or need to, you know, uh, you to act as a sounding board. And that's kind of the ask, as opposed to like, what should I do next, right? So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely guilty of doing that. What do you need? How can I help you right now? They're like, shut up and listen, man. I'm like, okay. Let's make a list. I'm big on lists. Let's make a list. I'm like, fuck.
let's whiteboard this.
Oh my God, man. If I had $1 for how many times I've said, let's whiteboard this to Celine, that she's hearing this, she's gonna like laugh because like I say that a lot. That's like let's make a Venn diagram. Pissed about this, but I've done that. So how do we come together? You know?
There is an
I-
overlap.
yeah, exactly. It's part of the sales pitch. It's not just me. This is us. No, man. But yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right though. Like communication is huge, and I've heard you mention that in the past as well too about like hyper communication, because like there's things that you think the other person is gonna know, and going back to like the value alignment, sometimes like things can kind of shift, or they'll start to like kind of the garden of your relationship or whatever starts to get like little inputs from different things that have come in from different insects or whatever that are pollinating inside there, and you got to like pluck those guys out, or at least be aware, right? It's funny. I have conversations with my dad. I'm becoming my dad now with these hilarious analogies. They don't even make sense, but like I think people know what I'm talking about. My dad said something yesterday to Nico, like because he figured out a different way of doing something. He's like, there are always more ways to skin a chicken. Like, and he's like, I've never heard that. Like, I know what you mean. Like, 'cause I think the correct one is like, there's more ways to skin a cat, but the chicken works too. You know what I mean? Or he all says all this random shit that makes sense. And then now I'm like the analogy king at home. I'm like, and then Slim's like, just say the thing. Like, what do you need an analogy?
Well,
Just be straight, man, and say it. You know?
you're like that Yoda, like the old school prophet that says something, and then like they have to like think about it twice, like rewind it and say, okay, what he said actually kind of makes sense, but
This episode is brought to you by Bloom Benefits Group. Bloom Benefits is disrupting employee benefits by rethinking the status quo. They provide exceptional customer service while saving you money. Bloom offers group benefits and retirement products, health and wellness accounts, executive benefits, life insurance, and disability and critical illness. Available to companies across Canada, Bloom helps clients save money without interrupting current plans. Check them out at bluebenefits.ca.
Young professionals, families, and entrepreneurs. What makes Zelos Investment Counsel different? Our independence, client focus, and access. Zelos Investment Counsel is independent from banks and brokerages, which ensures clients' best interests are served without corporate conflicts. We are fiduciary portfolio managers with a duty to clients that doesn't exist in the brokerage model. At Zelos Investment Counsel, we exist to care for our clients, and every day we strive to help our clients reach their goals. We provide our clients with access to institutional investment managers and sector specialists through our proprietary investment structure. For more information, book your no obligation meeting today at zelosglobal.com. That's www.zelosglobal.com.
Attention all car owners. Is the winter weather turning your beloved ride into a rusty relic? Fear not, because we've got the solution you've been dreaming of: Crown Rust Protection. Picture this: your car defying the elements, standing strong against rust like a knight in shining armor. Crown Rust Protection is not just a shield, it's an investment in the longevity and resale value of your vehicle. Don't let rust take the wheel. Book your Crown Rust Protection treatment today and let your car embrace its inner superhero. Call now at 403-291-1951 or book your appointment at www.krown.com. Our skilled technicians are ready to give your car the VIP treatment it deserves. Crown Rust Protection, because your car deserves to age like fine wine, not rusty vinegar.
Today's episode is brought to you by Motive, a leading venture builder with over a decade of experience helping corporates and startups build, launch, and scale successful business ventures. Whether you're looking to innovate your business model, develop a game-changing product, or craft a winning go-to-market strategy, Motive is with you every step of the way. Their proven venture building process and technologies help reduce risks and accelerate time to market. Innovation is everywhere. Let's harness it together. Visit motive.digital to learn more. That's Motive spelled M-O-T-I-V.
One thing that I have found really rewarding about the whole experience is the quote rings true to me, but maybe not in the way that people think, is you'll do what other people won't do today in order to do what other people can't tomorrow. And for me, that's not talking about money per se. It's more like the other things around it as it relates to, like, you know, the personal growth, the flexibility. Like, our kids are like Lincoln's 7 and Liam is turning 5 in at the end of June, and this is the time. This is like the best time to be spending together. So me and my wife are able to show up at the, you know, spring concerts and the French plays and the soccer games and all the things, because you know, inevitably it doesn't last forever. So I remember like having lunch with someone, and he recalled this instance where I think his daughter is 9, and then one of his colleagues said, "Oh, you only have 4 summers left before they you know, want to hang out with their friends or boyfriends or whatever the case may be." So it's like you just think about that. It's like measuring time in summers, and that changes things, right?
Oh yeah, I love the measuring time in summers. One of my advisors said that to me in Vancouver one time as well too, when we're talking about like happiness and whatever you're doing. He's like, because he used to always ask me like, are you happy doing what you're doing? Because he's like, you're not, like, you spent 7 summers on this already. And in life in general, let's call it 85 summers, and you're 30 at the time, 30. He's like, you have 50 summers left. How do you want to spend those summers, right? I was like, whoa, okay, that really hits. Even right now, hearing it out loud, I'm like, damn, you know. But especially when you say about your kids, like, yeah, till 13, and then it gets real, right? And it's very different. So how are we going to make those times count? And I think if that is like a super high priority item, you make it work. Especially when you have a partner that's aligned in that mission as well too, to not only create something of value for the community and do things on your own kind of terms, but also just like, yeah, exactly, be there for your kids and enjoy those times. Because like, what is life without experiences? You know, like, time's gonna fly by anyways. It's insane, man. Like, I just came back from France, right? I was there for like 10 days with Celine's family because they had a big ceremony around like their family's military involvement for the Second World War. And a year ago or whenever we were starting to plan this, I was like, how am I going to get away? This is going to be insane. Like, at 10 days around this time, it's crazy. But now looking back, like it's like this. You've anticipated it, you've gone, you've come back, and that time's now gone. Everything was fine. It's all good. But those memories now are just lasted forever. And like even when I see people that I've gone traveling with now in that trip, it's just like there's a different bond because like you've shared these things, you know?
Yeah.
And it like accelerates things because you've been there and it just strengthens those bonds. So, like it's so important. Like, we're trying to have a family now as well too. So I'm heeding this advice as well too, both what you're saying about how precious time is with like your children because they grow up so fast. I see my friends' kids, and every time I see them, it's a snapshot, and they just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm like, it's only been not that long, but I can't imagine how much their brains are developing and what they're receiving in, and how your involvement or lack of involvement, like ultimately creates some of these like massive synapses that take like forever to either fuel them or untangle. But
Yeah.
I love that. I love that you're doing that, man. I think that's amazing to make time for that.
Yeah. Speaking of accelerating, I wanted to kind of take this last little bit to maybe like talk about very practical, like tactical things that you've learned on your entrepreneurial journey, and I could share some things, but like, are there like any tips and tricks that you've learned over the years that if you knew back then, it would have saved you money, saved you time, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think surround yourself with good people and surround yourself with people that you want to emulate or that you're inspired by. When I first started here with Crown, my parents were kind of on a little island because there's all the crowns out east and whatever else, and they were kind of doing it their way, right? But I think from experience, either with Play City or even with Joy, working with advisors like yourself, right away I told my parents, I'm like, we got to find the best crown shops and learn how they've done it. Like, I don't have time to make all the mistakes and figure shit out. Like, they've done it. Why not just go to them and ask them? And everybody, what I've learned, people are happy to help. And if they're not, maybe they're just not the right person to be talking to. But you should find those mentors that will give you time and space to ask questions and not make you feel stupid, right? So I think that's the number one thing I've learned throughout this journey was asking questions, being curious, and not feeling any less for asking a lot of questions. Right? I think it's very important to be able to ask and be able to receive. So I think that's been huge. But I also think like aligning the team with audacious goals, but not the crazy like we're gonna make a million cars this year. It's like, let's just do the math. What is the market segment that we want to go for? What's a fractional piece of that, and how can we actually get there? Making like tangible goals. So those are two things. I think asking a lot of questions, surrounding ourselves with a lot of good people, taking opportunities to leverage like sales conference videos and training videos and all stuff that kind of other people have already created. And then actually having like this quarterly or even monthly check-ins and goals to see like are we aligned has been huge. And we're nowhere near where we want to be, but we're at least making strides in that direction, which feels good.
Yeah, absolutely. Progress, momentum.
Yeah.
It's like that tidal wave that's building in the background that, hopefully hits that inflection point, right?
For sure. Yeah. How about yourself?
I think taking calculated risks earlier on, because like inevitably it's like it's kind of like it's this time thing again. Like, as time goes on, your risk tolerance and capability and tolerance starts to shrink in, right? So being able to, be in a place where you take calculated risks when you're able to is important. So probably would have taken more early on. But being very like, it's like a mentality thing. Like, I think it's like, it's good to be like scrappy as well and creative. Like, as an example, like even like things like you have to pay for, if it's like a software service or whatever the case may be, is there a way that you could kind of like pay for like a seat or a subscription and then spread it out? Do you know what I mean? Like, where there's like a combination of like paid and freemium that you kind of collaborate with your team, like on like a, customer relationship management software or something like that.
Right.
just get in the practice of making dollars stretch further, as opposed to like, okay, I'm just going to buy like 3-4 seat subscriptions and that sort of stuff. Like, see if there's ways that you kind of work the system based off of the business model that they have, in order to like stay within the bounds of what the limitations are.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. You definitely have to be scrappy. Like knowing your numbers makes a lot of sense, right? So now like spending willy-nilly is huge. And I think the more you look, you find different tools. But then as soon as you take those calculated risks and start to see ROI on the things that work, I know, like doubling down on those things and then being like, okay, that made sense. Like, when you showed me like CapCut to start making some of that content, I was like, I don't know, we'll see. Because I felt weird. Like you talked about the cringy moments or whatever. And as soon as you start getting a little traction, because I was using yours, like I was sending you the video, you would put the caption, send it back to me, and I would put it on to save that $100 or whatever. And as soon as I got a little traction on it, I was like, screw it, man. Like I'm gonna buy it too. And now we both use it, and it's been great, right? And it's one of those tools that you're like, yeah, you invest in like that technology, because it's gonna streamline and make your life a hell of a lot better. And yeah, it's wild. And some of that consistency, you see it with your LinkedIn. I've seen a little bit of success with like our YouTube channel and stuff, and people are seeing it and stuff like that. It's huge. So I think that trying new things and investing in some things that may or may not work, but learning as quick as possible, if that was like a good use of funds, makes a lot of sense. Because you can spray and pray all day, but if you don't have a way to actually measure some of those efforts, then that's like a serious waste of money, right?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you think about some of those like big swings that you took that either did pan out or maybe didn't?
Well, I guess when we first started the company, and inevitably, like we were trying to create like a private equity firm, and we're going to source like investors based out of Hong Kong. So we took this like trip to Hong Kong to do all that, and then inevitably that business model went away. So it was great memories and a cool story to tell, and from the inception of the business and that sort of stuff, but didn't really result in anything at the end of the day, right? So
Yeah, cool trip though.
yeah, exactly.
I think it's a good trip out of it.
Any last words for our listeners on this particular podcast that you want to end out with?
I don't know. I think just in the words of like Nike's founder, right? Like just Bill Knight, just do it. Just do it. You'll learn along the way. You're gonna learn a lot about yourself throughout the process. But if you have an idea of anything, whether it's a nonprofit or a project or a Sunday lemonade stand, I don't give a shit. Just do it. Learn about yourself, learn about the process, and you're gonna be surprised with what you find.
That's great. I love that. Mine, I got from like a conference that I recently attended, the Alberta Women's Entrepreneurs Summit. One of the speakers has just talked about like defining success for yourself. So, it might not be the number of customers or a total revenue number or whatever the case may be. It's like, it might be the ability to do something you love, make great impact, and pay your bills. And that's a great scenario, right? So I don't know what that is for anyone listening to this, but I feel like it has to be more open-ended and encompassing as it relates to how you define success, and that likely has to like align with your values. And I think people will be more easy on themselves if they define success in those terms. So
yeah, I love it. I think that's really, really sound advice for sure.
Yeah. Well, really appreciated this conversation. It's good. It's just felt like you and I were shooting the shit in a coffee shop. But hopefully there's some value and some nuggets that our listeners can get out of it. Really appreciate the support. And it's crazy that it's been over 3 years and nearly 150 episodes.
I know, insane. Yeah, likewise, man. It's always nice to just kind of reconnect there as well too. So yeah, thanks for suggesting that we chat. And it's just good to connect one-on-one. It's been far too long. So I appreciate you. I appreciate the accountability that you bring with the podcast. because it's easy enough for me to say like, yeah, we're slammed, let's just do it in next week. And you're like, no, let's just meet today. You and I chat. I'm like, you know what? I'm really glad I did it. This is very therapeutic. But it's also just nice to connect and kind of reflect on that as well too. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks again. Appreciate you.
Yeah, likewise, man. See you again.
Thank you again for joining us for another episode of Between Two Dots by Intention Media. This podcast is co-hosted by myself, Gilbert Bong, and Hafiz Mitha. If you enjoyed this podcast, please rate and review wherever you listen.